From one high-profile trial to another, O.J. Simpson, who passed away, and his trial of the century.
We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Orenthal James Simpson, not guilty of the crime of murder in violation of Penal Code Section 187A, a felony upon Nicole Brown Simpson, a human being, as charged in count 1 of the information.
That infamous case, do you remember where you were when that happened? Because I do. It was watched by over 150 million people, and it spurned a media frenzy that gripped and divided the country. CNN's Tom Foreman reminds us.
Police believe that O.J. Simpson is in that car.
For 2 hours, over 60 miles, almost 30 years ago, the low-speed pursuit of an American icon became an American sensation.
People were leaving their homes and their work and wherever they were, and they were racing to these overpasses.
And when the white Bronco stopped for O.J. Simpson to face murder charges over the killing of his ex-wife, Nicole Brown, and Ronald Goldman, the country was hooked.
And that was our first introduction into reality TV and what it looked like, and we were obsessed.
Simpson was a superstar, a Heisman Trophy winner in college, one of the most dazzling running backs in NFL history, for many black families in particular, a runaway success.
Nobody does it better than her.
Juice was a beloved celebrity in commercials and movies.
Nordberg, how you, buddy? Hey, Doc says I should be on my beat and as good as new in a week.
And yet his role as defendant eclipsed everything else. Through 11 months of court proceedings and non-stop media coverage, the nation was captivated by daily debates over DNA evidence, police procedure, and dramatic moments made for TV.
If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
When the verdict came down,
Not guilty of the crime of murder.
by one estimate, 150 million people watched live. Many splitting along racial lines over whether the ruling was just or just wrong.
It's just unfair.
A massive civil suit by the victims' families did not go as well for Simpson, and he was ordered to pay tens of millions in damages. He lost his house and Heisman, but kept hundreds of thousands in pension funds.
Our family is grateful for a verdict of responsibility, which is all we ever wanted.
Simpson had future legal problems, too. In 2007, he was arrested after an armed robbery involving sports memorabilia he said was his.
I am sorry. I didn't mean to steal anything from anybody, and I didn't know I was doing anything illegal.
He wound up convicted and sentenced to 33 years in prison. He was paroled in 2017, and through it all, he maintained his innocence in the murders that changed his life and American society, too.
Right now, I'm at a point in my life where all I want to do is spend time with as much time as I can with my children and my friends. And I've done my time.
For the families of the victims, the Browns and the Goldmans, O.J.'s continued presence in the news served as an open wound, a constant reminder to them of the justice they always felt was denied. Tom Foreman, CNN, Washington.
All right, joining me now is Michael Smerconish. He is a CNN political commentator and the host of CNN's Smerconish. Michael, happy Friday. Wonderful to have you.
Hi, Kasie.
Quite the trip down memory lane in terms of what this trial, this man, meant to our culture in the 90s. You were a trial attorney. What has been going through your mind as we have been transported back to this period in time?
Well, when you asked, do you remember where you were when the not guilty verdict came in? I don't know if you could see me shaking my head. Not only do I remember exactly where I was then, I remember where I was the night of the white Ford Bronco chase. And for those of us of a certain age, we were transfixed. I have an embarrassing confession. I was so hooked on this trial that I remember being in LA and tracing the route from Rockingham to Bundy to see if it all made sense. Now, those of us who were obsessed with the trial, you'll remember those references. America has always loved a good trial. Go back to the 30s, it was Bruno Hauptmann in the Lindbergh baby kidnapping. But what was different about OJ were the cameras in the courtroom. And Kasie, I am such an advocate of the idea that anywhere we as citizens have a right to go watch our government function, there ought to be a right to a camera. including the Supreme Court of the United States. But ironically, the O.J. case was such a setback for my argument because the courtroom was out of control. It took like a year, as you just pointed out. Judge Ito just did not rein it in. He allowed the lawyers to ride roughshod. So forever, I've been saying to people, there need to be cameras in courtroom, but don't let O.J. be your yardstick.
That is a really interesting way to think about it because, yeah, you're right. It became really performative. I mean, the moments where he puts the glove on and I am interested to know what you think about how that impacts I mean, in theory, it's not supposed to impact a jury, right? But I think we all know in reality that it creates these cultural moments that can't help but influence the process somehow. How do you think about that?
It's taken me years to appreciate the jury nullification that took place in the O.J. criminal trial. I'm not defending it. I think he was guilty as sin. I thought it then. I think it now. I'm not comfortable with it, but at least I better understand the sort of score settling that case became because of the perception of the LAPD over a period of years. And so, yeah, it represented so much more than whether O.J. had killed Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. And my heart broke then. I haven't thought about Fred Goldman for years or Kim Goldman, but man, I was thinking about them last night. It brought back so many memories. Dominic Dunn, a young Jeffrey Toobin sitting in that courtroom. And every night, those of us like tuned in to Larry King for the recap of what had happened that day in case we couldn't watch it in real time.
I mean, it's really just remarkable. I mean, look, I'm showing my age here. I was in 5th grade when this all played out. And my teacher, my 5th grade teacher, I presume because she felt like she absolutely couldn't miss this cultural moment, turns it on for us. We're like 10 years old. I'm unclear on how any of it was appropriate, but that was the sort of impact of that moment, and it's why I remember where I was. And to this day, there's a cover band that plays here in DC that's super popular with people of a certain age like myself who grew up with 90s music called White Ford Bronco. And again, I think I was taken a little bit aback by the nostalgia. It's not nostalgia, is not quite the right word because that implies there's like something positive about it. It's not that. But it was this cultural moment that, and Michael, like, let's be clear, and I'm curious how you think this ties in with what we're going to see with Trump come next week in another trial that is going to be widely covered. But obviously, without the cameras, it's likely to have a different cultural impact than this one. But there aren't that many moments that we all experience as the same culture at the same time. Obviously, in this case, was a divided America. You noted the racial divide, but we still were all there watching it together.
It's true. We don't have the common experience that we had in the mid-90s. The internet has fueled our ability to go in different directions. Like, gone are the days when we all watched Seinfeld, Cosby Show, Friends. We don't even watch the same shows anymore. But we were all, I mean, Tom Foreman's package said that like 150 million people by some accounts were tuned in to watch that verdict. I can't think of something about which we were all so obsessed. And now, to have this conversation on almost the eve of a former president going on a criminal trial, it will again be a Rorschach test, not divided along racial lines the way that O.J. was. But, you know, my God, this Trump case, it's got a relationship underlying it, like the O.J. case did. It's seen in dramatically different ways by different communities like O.J. It's got characters. I mean, Michael Cohen is a character. There were Kato Kalin characters galore in the O.J. case. So I do see similarities. The camera is the big difference. And again, notwithstanding what went wrong in O.J., I wish there would be cameras in the courtroom on Monday.
I mean, man, it would be remarkable if that were the case. Michael Smerconish, it's always wonderful to chat with you. Thank you very much
Kasie. Have a
for
great
being
day.
here. And have a great show tomorrow. Everyone tune in to Smerconish. Saturdays at 9 a.m. It's right here on CNN. See you next week, I hope.